Welcome in. And I'm continuing reading from Alan Leo's book, Astrology for All. And we're looking at Gemini. It's chapter 6 in the book. And this is the first sign of the airy triplicity, also the first of the mutable signs. The airy triplicity governs the mental conditions of humanity. Hence, we find those born in this sign living more in the mind. But owing to the sign belonging to the mutable group, they are dualistic, this being the main feature of the mutable signs. And from this comes the tendency to express two conditions and an inclination at times to be rather easily influenced on one side or the other. I've seen this, it's not just Gemini's sun, it's just the Gemini sign in general. I've seen people with the other planets in Gemini. They do the same thing. They are kind of jumping back and forth between views, interests. Even myself, I have Gemini on the 6th house cusp, and I'm not saying that this is how it works exactly, but I do find myself I found myself a lot with two different jobs in my life. I feel like I do better as I'm getting older. I do better with two different jobs. That kind of goes along with my rest of my chart as well, rather than having like one 9 to 5. A lot of people I know with planets in Gemini could never do a 9 to 5. It's not that they couldn't do it, or like just sitting in a chair with just having to be there. It's not that they couldn't do it. Something, even when they do it, something happens like that, which again goes along with the rest of the chart. Something happens where they just can't, like, frustrates them. They can't deal with it, and they end up quitting, or something like that. Let's see. Gemini governs the lungs, also the hands and arms. Hence, it may be seen that one hand may act differently to the other. Differently to the other. I've never seen that before. Back to what I was saying about work. For the most part, I have worked with my hands with the Gemini 6th house, which is another thing that bothered me, because that after a while in repeating things, you start to see the effects or feel the effects. I also can tell you a quick story. I don't know if anyone want to hear this, but I have Aries. I think it's interesting. I have Aries in the 3rd house cusp. My dad has Aries on the 3rd house cusp. If we're looking at whole sign, he's an Aquarius rising. I'm a Capricorn rising. I know another guy with Aquarius rising. And early in my life, I got into a fight. Well, I was probably in my 20s. I got into a fist fight, and I punched this guy, and it fucked up my hand. Like, it's permanently fucked up. And from this one punch, and you can see the two, like, looking at my hands, my left hand is like normal, and then my right hand looks like I punched somebody. And then my father and then the other guy both had their fingers chopped off. I don't know if it was like, I think it was a lawnmower. I don't know if the other guy was a lawnmower or not, but they like to work with mechanical things. And like I said, Mars being cutting on the 3rd house, Gemini, hands. I have some other stories too I'm not going to get into, but I don't want to scare anyone, really. It's just after the fact, it's kind of funny. These persons are rarely content with a single occupation or pursuit and seem to delight in having two things in hand at the same time. Now, I don't have anything in Gemini, but I do have the ruler Mercury on my ascendant. So that could be something there. Uh, but there he says, rarely content with a single occupation or pursuit, and seem to delight in having two things in hand at the same time. My aunt, I like to tell, I don't know if anyone's watching these like repeatedly, but I might repeat myself. My aunt is a Gemini, Grand Trine Air. I think she might have Mercury and Gemini as well. Man, she's been like real all over the place, and she works for herself, basically freelancing in Rome, trying to get people to pay her to what's that called, to be their tour guide. You know, she could never work for someone for other reasons, uh, maybe mental health reasons, or you call it that. I don't know if you call it that. I mean, if you just look at her chart, there's so much air, and she's so intelligent. It's really hard to be like everyone else when you think like that. They can very quickly adapt themselves to surroundings or environment, and they are remarkable for their versatility, but they are very sensitive and have the ability to reason up and analyze their sensations. They love change and diversity, and they are always the best persons to rely upon in an emergency. They love change and diversity, always the best persons to rely upon in an emergency, as they can instantly respond to the requirements of the moment. So I guess that's just that quickness of Mercury. Thinking of my old friend Steve was a Gemini sun, and he was like that. He was you could rely on him in an emergency, as they instantly respond to the requirements of the moment. It's funny because I haven't talked to him in a long time, but my other friend sent me a newspaper ad, or not an ad, but a story where he was featured. He's a mail carrier. I think Gemini mail carrier. It's perfect for him. And he found like a dog recently in the winter, like stuck in the creek or something, and he and he rescued him, and he was on the news for it. So that's Gemini instantly responding to the requirements of the moment. Where I think I would have hesitated. I would have been like, do I wanna do anything? Should I call somebody? What's this dog gonna do to me? They love variety of thought and all mental pursuits. And these they sometimes carry into extremes. They seem to take an especial delight in leaving their work unfinished. They will take up one thing, partly finish it, and then go on to another, which they also feel inclined to leave unfinished. Therefore, the best work is done when cooperating with others and when working in unity with those who understand their peculiarities. They are capable of great attainments in life. But the spirit of diversity often makes them experience two extremes during their life. What's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that. Not finishing things and then picking up and finishing it later. And now, see, average people might see a problem with that. I don't see a problem with that at all. That's as long as it gets done, that gives that variety, so things don't get boring. You don't get depressed. You don't get bogged down. I mean, I don't see a problem with that at all. In fact, that should be the norm, or at least accepted. They can be generous and also somewhat careful and near. That's it, and you know what? I'm gonna go on a little bit of a Gemini rant, because this is something that you see people do. What they do is they'll say, "Oh, you don't belong in this position. You should be doing this, or why don't you find something that allows you to do that?" And it's like, no, why don't you just let me get up and walk around whenever I want? Like it's like I mean, I remember some places are like that, but I remember working at this one place, and she was like, "Why are you getting up so much?" Like she didn't exactly say it like that, and it was like, because I'm on the phone trying to sell hard things, and it makes me feel better. It's like I don't understand why these people don't. They think you can just. It's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna drop what I'm doing and just go find something that works for me because that's how it works. And something magically is gonna come in to pay my bills, and I'm not gonna be bothered by you people who are not understanding human beings. So that's my little rant, my little Gemini rant. Um, they can be generous and also somewhat careful and near. They can present a bold front and assertive attitude and yet be timid and highly nervous. That's that masculine sign. Sagittarius is like that too. It depends on the moon sign and things like that. Like me, uh I don't think I present like a bold front or an assertive attitude, and I appear timid. But when you get to know me, I'm the opposite. I'm not timid. I'm bold. I'll get in your face. I'll say things. I'll have outbursts, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's Aquarius. That's that having. You could say it's possible it's having that receptive sign Capricorn as a sun, and then having the masculine sign for the moon in Aquarius. We have known persons born in this sign who have expressed a desire to be in two places at the same moment, but on the whole, they are rather impulsive, and this generally decides the line they shall take. They appear to be unable to stand any worry or anxiety, which quite unnerves them. Yet, when left alone to work out their own designs in accordance with their own peculiar methods, they can do a great amount of useful work. I mean, that's where I'm at. I can't. I'm very useful. I'm very responsible. I think I'm a good at doing work, etc. But I can't stand any worry or anxiety. And often the anxiety, it's not like something you can treat. Uh, it's very circumstantial. Uh, it cannot be dealt with. It should not be dealt with. And from my position, I never will deal with it because, in my opinion, it's not my problem. It's these environments that these people exist in that I can't be around. But they, when left alone to work out their own designs, especially with other things in the chart, in accordance with their own peculiar methods, which aren't peculiar at all, as I would say, and their own designs, they can do a great amount of useful work. And if I would add better work than other people. They must, however, first realize that they consist of many compartments, so to speak. When they change their times for working and thinking, and in fact live in a life of change, they can succeed very well. They must have diversity. This may make them appear to their friends very fickle and indecisive, but it is their particular way of working, therefore perfectly legitimate to them. As I was just saying, throughout the whole of their life, they must expect dual impressions and many contradictory states of consciousness and be very sensitive, nervous, and highly strung. They should try to analyze the particular mood they happen to be in, and it would be well for them to endeavor not to be swayed by the mental thought spheres of others. They're somewhat ambitious, but it is more a mental ambition for refinement and better conditions. They're somewhat ambitious, but is more mental ambition for refinement and better conditions. And on that note, I will say that from my uh, halfway through my life, I didn't understand this growing up, but I still struggle with it. But I want to say that if Gemini's out there, if you're like me, it is so worth it to be able to work and live in your own peculiar way. If that allows you peace of mind and allows you to thrive in your daily life, whatever that means for you, in and despite not having a lot of money, if you can find somewhere that you're content, find someone to work with, which is the hardest thing to do. If you have people that you can work with, people that you can live with, a partner, etc., to make all this happen, To me, it's so much better than giving that up and struggling to maybe make more money or do things that you would do with more money, etc. And me, I'm coming to terms with that at this stage in my life where I'm in more of a position where I can do things my way, take my time, and I'm not exactly settled in that, I would say, but I'm I'm at least here. And as he says here, more a mental ambition for refinement and better conditions. To have that ambition for the refinement and better conditions, because it's just really important. All those born in this sign possess fine organic quality and the ability to become very clever. They are certainly quick witted and mentally impulsive, and they seem to draw a great deal on what is really an inspirational nature. The chief characteristics of their individuality are force and motive. When they seek to discover their motives for their action, they may be considered very progressive. When they live the unbalanced personal life, they become very diffusive, indecisive, and unreliable. Now, I'm not, as I said, I'm not a Gemini sun, I'm not a Gemini moon. So certainly, when they live an unbalanced personal life, they can be very diffusive, indecisive, unreliable. This brings to mind, I know another mail carrier who's a Gemini sun. Now, I don't know the story directly, but my friend who told me about the other mail carrier, he was best friends with this one, and he was caught cheating with someone on his route, and he started drinking on the job. Somehow kept his job, ended up abandoning his wife and kids and moving to another state out of nowhere. And yeah, very unbalanced personal life, became very diffusive, indecisive, and unreliable, among other things. The sign Gemini governs the lungs, arms, hands, and shoulders, and their disease or ill health is mostly caused by excess of activity and worry. This brings nervous disorders, which belong to the airy triplicity, and consumptive tendencies belonging to the mutable signs. Therefore, their concerns should be less activity and excitement and a freedom from all anxiety and worry. It sometimes becomes necessary for them to study the laws of hygiene with regard to diet, and they require plenty of sleep. Now, I have respected this to some degree in my life, and it's really not easy to do because other things come into play. But again, as I was saying, if you can pull this off, it's very beneficial. These persons succeed best in all work where their hands are employed. They make excellent bookkeepers, clerks, and commercial travelers. They love variety of employment or posts where the mind can be engaged in two avocations at the same time. Their best outlet is in the literary world, and as editors, reporters, and newspapermen, they have splendid facilities. They also have the ability to come in touch with the public mind. They can therefore cater well for the public literary taste. Their professions should be accountants, solicitors, attendants, post office officials, clerks, decorative artists, schoolmasters, guides, journalists, lecturers, photographers, postmen, railway employees, secretaries, and translators. I did want to be a journalist when I was in high school. That was one of the things I was thinking of. My mother was a secretary, Gemini rising, Mercury in the third house. As I mentioned, two postmen that I know were Gemini suns. These persons would do well to marry those born in the airy or fiery triplicities. Oh, I know another Gemini who uh, who was married to a stellium in Aquarius. And then later on, after his divorce, he was with a Libra that he thought was like the perfect match, and she ended up breaking up with him because he didn't want to have any more kids. But the Libra was a really good match. And then now he's with an Aries. We may sum up the Gemini type of person born between May 20th and June 20th as dualistic and restless, intellectual and sensational, nervous and irritable. Like the air to which triplicity they belong, they must ever be moving from place to place or thought to thought. How many really smart people out there? Air with lots of air and things that you're never going to know or meet because they don't have any status, and they don't have that bent towards quote unquote success in the world, but they're absolutely intelligent and amazing human beings. Forming as they do the last of the intellectual trinity, they seem to be able to express the two foregoing signs in themselves. And if we the two foregoing signs, so that's Aries and Taurus, and if we were to think of Aries as the father and Taurus as the mother, Gemini may be considered as the child of these twain. Never heard that before either. Indeed, it would seem as if they were ever trying to blend the ideal with the practical, the life with the form. We talked about Aries being idealistic, Taurus being practical in those readings. To blend the ideal with the practical, the life with the form. I like that. All that is contained in the spirit matter of the positive and negative union of Aries with Taurus is seeking an expression in the consciousness of Gemini. They are, as it were, placed between two poles and are ever being called upon to decide towards which side they shall lean. The experience of their life is obtained from duality, out of which motive is to be evolved. Got a like here, but no one joining us for now. So I'm going to close this down, get some water, and then jump into Cancer.